What the fuck kind of music was that? I was trying to do some non-copyright for for some things here. Let's see. Oh, this is rock and metal, so we'll just have to do this for 1 sec here. Let's see. Let's say lo-fi. How about that? Let's have some lo-fi. We had some Enchanted Forest since we have the girl, our girl in the background there. Let's see. Yeah, that's fine. We'll just do this. It's fine. All right. Let's get this out of the way. Go ahead and get that out of here. All right. I'll pull up the deck list that I've been rocking somewhat recently. Verdance is numero uno. Yep, it's pretty good. Okay. So the breakdown of 2 RTNs. One was this past weekend, so I would say yesterday was my second RTN, as well as my first RTN was the first week of RTN, so it was on the... That one was on the 8th. No, 9th. That was on the 9th. So that was at my closest one, I guess you could say, but that was Green Tree. That was Green Tree Sports and Comics, and that one was 24 people max, because right now they're in a small store, and they're going to expand into a bigger store. And like this last Armory is the last one, so they're going to be within March. They're going to be going to the new store, so it'll be good. So for 24 max seating occupancy, we went 5 rounds, and I didn't have everything that I needed to bring, or that I wanted to bring. Not all the cards were there. I only had 2 mental blocks going into like the quote-unquote dagger meta. For the Swiss, I went 3-1-1. So the very first round for my opponent was Pat Eschi, pretty good card player for the Runaways. He went Mario. He was into Mario. It was a close game. I didn't put my H pots in. I went full tempo. I want to say that I found all 3 of my failings towards the mid to late game, which probably helped me out a lot, trying to chip in some damage to kind of slow down the pace that Pat had. He said he thought he sided in sided in wrong, but I was able to get I wasn't pitch stacking or anything, so I was just able to get double rampant into like I think it was Emeritus Scolding in for 9 or something. So then he's like, I pumped it up a little bit to where it was just like 1 over, even if he just AP3'd and then SV3, so Spell Void, and he had all of the 3 spider equipment. He said he would try to side in a little bit differently, but we get there at a close game on round 1. For round 2, Vincent, this one was actually straight up 100% in control of my favor from the start. I get an early-ish ring out, and it brought me lots of value, and I was able to get it online quick, which also brought in lots of value. So all my sigils and things like that were coming in for like 0 for 6s. My heartbeats were getting a lot of value. I want to say the Vincent did not have any spell void, but just normal AB, but I think that was what it was. So it was basically just a lot of power tempo from ring and getting online very quickly. The life differences was because of mostly on the blood debt on his side. So the equalization started equaling out towards the end, where the blood debt's going here and I'm healing past with tempo of ring and things like that. Round 3 was my draw, which was the Kano, who actually won the entire event, but it went to time and he couldn't kill me, and then I couldn't kill him. I could only bring him down to 3 when everything was said and done. I didn't have Seeds of Tomorrow, which is one of the things that really help out. So an E-Pop plus Tunic allows you to plume for seeds if you just keep the arsenal. But what I did was I had an E-Pop, but I didn't I only had enough resources just to cover up the wildfire for 2, but then it was a yellow floods and then some like 2 or 3 zaps plus blazing. So it was not enough because I stopped the Wildfire to 3. It was only 2 damage because he brought in Moon, which I think might be incorrect because you kind of need to go a little bit higher up on the damage meter, in my personal opinion. So with Kano being on Moon, and then there was just nodes on the Wildfire, it made it to where the Floods was just, I could stuff that out to where the Surge didn't affect me. And then I couldn't really do much on his turn. I kept up 1 resource because I had a zap on my arsenal. So him being at 11, I couldn't kill because I stuffed it down to 2 for the Wildfire. It was only mainly just for double Wildfire if that happened to come across. Because I was at a high enough life total that I could survive. Like at one point it was like 50 life that I was going up towards for Kano. A lot of passing, a lot of IPing and stuff like that. For new, this was CYB new for round 4. CYB typically is harder. It's harder for new, that version of it. And it was just one of those games where 2 sirens calls happen to line up with 2 of my H-pots. And if at that point you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose because you just do not have the amount of deck damage to get past, even if it is just AB1, which I think that's what it was, AB1. The life gain from CYB puts a damper in a lot. So I think having heartbeats in also was a problem. He gained like 9 life off of those as well. So not putting in the, not taking those out and putting in those pots, as well as not having the E-pod in, was one of those things that hurt. So that one was definitely not my favorite match. And then that was the only loss that day, because I go into Riptide round 5. That was a little bit of a life discrepancy for that one for round 5. Riptide, there was some like mismanagement of the life totals from both of us. So we both got warnings, but we made it to where he was like, I had him at 25, but he had himself at 28. So it was that big of a life discrepancy, but I still was able to put a very big life total at the end where I killed him because he just had like 1 or 2 arcane. So I kind of put more priority towards arcane damage with the trees over wanting to do all fellings, because I did use all the fellings, but that was pretty much all I used because it triggers the traps most of the time. If there was a CNZ, I would use it, but I tried to steer away from trap triggering and mostly focus on arcane. I was able to get there. I squeaked in at 8th seed. It was a little bit rough because of the draw. Being that I beat the Riptide, I still got lower seed, and he still got higher seed. He got 6th seed. He was able to make it to the semis, but for the Syndra, that one was because I didn't really have the prevention. 2 mental blocks just does not help out a lot, and it was pretty much just a slow death at that point. I really just can't keep up with the blocking, and you need the prevention from shelter, mental block, and seeds to be able to have that pivot turn for your tempo turns, as well as matching it up with prevention and things like that. So that was unfortunate to be able to not get past the Syndra. I knew I was going to get a little bit worried. I actually put in the mental blocks last second. I didn't actually have them in. I was like, you know what? I may not run into Syndras. We're just going to take the L if it happens to be there, because I just can't deal with the mass trigger, because that's the only way that this deck beats anybody is threatening mass trigger with the flicks. Now, when it comes to the differences between that deck and this deck of going into the 2 weeks later on, I was able to get my cards, and I'll show you kind of the difference of what I ran. So let's go to display here. So what I ran was kind of John's list, John Folk's list, but a little bit of a difference, slight differences because of the fact that he didn't have shelters, he didn't have yellow gravekeeping and things like that. Yellow pitches a lot better into Surgent than red, and the difference between the 1 damage does not make or break the deck. We just want to make sure that we get the seeds, or sorry, CYBs down. So all of the count your blessings type of deal, we want to take those out. So this was what I registered yesterday. 2 Summers Fall. There's some changes within this list that I will be taking out. I'm going to put in some Findel's Fighting Spirit for Prism. I got the Charlotte, North Carolina Battle Hardened coming up in a couple weeks, so I got to test out a lot of different things. So this is pretty much the deck that I had for sideboards. 2 Warmongers, because that's the only Warmongers that I personally own. I'm not... and I'll go over the RTN when I went over to yesterday for 2 Viscerize. I didn't see a single Warmonger that I could use along with Scour, and I still won those games. So a little bit of a spoiler right there for you. So for rounds 1 on that one, so going in, I want to double check it really quick on my notes here, because I put it in the server that we test in. I want to make sure we get everything, because I pretty much just like break it down. It was a Cilio for round 1, I remember that. So a Cilio was one of those decks that it was that particular deck itself, or that game, I should say. Sorry, the game. The game was not very good for me. He went turn 1. He went first going into the matchup. He was able to send some damage at me because he was able to like toss out some arcane, and I went down to 37 or something like that. And then I healed up a little bit of extra life, going back up to 39. And then I go into my turn. I kept a root bound yellow and then like a tree. So I get those 2 cards. I keep those 2 cards. And then I go into my turn, drawing into a felling and a plow. So like nothing, I can't even do anything. I can't even like, I can play tree and then pitch to Surgent, which is probably what I should have done, but I just play tree and then put the root bound into my arsenal, because the value of my arsenal is probably better if I just pitch towards Surgent so I can get some damage in. But I think that was probably the main reason why I just couldn't do anything the first 2 or 3 turns, because the decomposes were just not, they're coming at the beginning instead of the mid to late. And that's one of the things that Verdance suffers a little bit, is when you're receiving your decomposes when you're not supposed to. And it was just like a walk down from there. The very first turn he actually did one of the instances, because he did the large arcane on turn 0. One of them was Channel Valley, Lightning Valley, and he kept it for 2 counters. So he was able to keep it 1 counter, and then the next turn he kept it for 2 counters. And then it's just basically, I need to stem the bleeding, but I was able to get some of the value because that root bound that was in Arsenal, I was able to decompose then, and then another felling. So I was able to like 25, 26 at that point. I was like, okay, now we're good. We kind of got past the point where I can get a little bit of tempo here, and then maybe you can solidify. But I think he didn't do a big combo until the very end when I was still kind of low on life. So it really didn't matter. It was a bit weird for that one. Not to say that I'm not having a struggle into that matchup for sure, but let's see. So from then on out, I have to submarine. I got to submarine my ass off. For this one, we did 6 rounds on our second RTN. Going into round 2, yeah, so I actually kind of like break it down in here for that first round. Yeah, so I had to like IP3. Oh wait, I think it was one of them was like shelter. So yellow root, 1 felling, and like shelter. That's what it was. It wasn't a tree. Damn. It was even worse than I thought, because I had like I had to pitch the Surgeon for 1 damage and then pass with like 2 reacts and a felling. And that's what it was. It would feel so bad to do my entire hand for felling for 4. That's what it was. So it was really, really bad. Okay, so round 2. Syndra, we got the W for that one. This person was slightly new to the game because I remember him coming in for Green Tree as a local, and he's learning a little bit. Like, this is his second road to nationals, because the first one was the one a couple weeks ago. So he's still learning. I think he like did KO that RTN, then he did Syndra for this one. And it kind of showed when he played Oath of Loyalty. That was a turn that could have like determined him to actually gain some extra value, because he did Oath of Loyalty and then 3 Draconic attacks, and then or 2 more after that, and then he plays Ancestral Empowerment on the 3rd chain link. When I go to block it, I take the damage, and then he draws up off of Mask and that, and then I noticed that it wasn't a Draconic card, meaning that you can't actually play that, so we had to call the judge, basically rewind it back to where he saw the 2 cards. It doesn't matter, I didn't see them, but he knows they're on there, and he just arsenals the react, and we get a little bit of extra tempo from there. So we were able to win it out with some lethal, like rampant growth type of style with sigil. So we were able to, I think that turn would have been the determining turn of if I lost or won, because that's 2 cards. That's just, I couldn't deal with that on the card draw. If Oath of Loyalty wasn't the first card. Let's see. For round 3, this one was a very, very low roll from Viscerai. I'm talking like it was crazy. So we win on this one because of it. So I go first. I just like discard twinning and then I pass. Not much I really can do in my hand because I had a tree and a blue and a CNC, and I didn't have an earth to actually use it, so I could just like pass at that point, which is good that I didn't send anything, because all he does is just pass. With 4 cards, he just passes and arsenals. Like, I don't remember his equipment suite, because he could probably just like pitch to Grasp if you want to create a rune chant, which I don't think he does. I think he has Quill Hand. So he just passes. I was like, okay, cool. I can't really do anything with my hand again. I didn't draw up any earth to send this tree. So what I'll do is I'll pitch the Surgeon, I'll block for 1, and then I'll send CNC. So I send the CNC, he double blocks it, has 2 cards left in hand, he passes right back. 2 cards, 1 arsenal. Okay, cool. I do the exact same thing, can't find another earth card to play this tree, and then, because it was an arsenal, and then I say Surgeon, CNC, double blocks it, and passes right back to me. Say, okay, cool. So now I can able to find this tree. I can actually play the tree now. When I'm able to play the tree, he has to triple pitch because he's AB3, 3 reds. I've seen all Revel and Runebloods for this particular game being pitched for Surgeon or like heavy arcane damage. And he has to pitch a lot. And then the arsenal he was trying to protect was a Mordred Tide. So what happened was like his Mordred Tide was like Mordred Tide, Malefic, and then sets up so a whole bunch of rune chants, because then he can set up some 6 rune chants and 2 Malefics, and then passes right back to me, or it's like a Deadwood Dirge or something like that. So I remember doing that, and it matched up my Scour because I had exactly 8 resources. This poor guy was getting destroyed. He could not find anything to match up, and then whenever he wants to try to build up a rune, like a board, I completely wiped out his board for like 8 damage. So the 3 red Malefics, they die. Those 6 rune chants, they die. I send 8. He pitches it. He takes 5. He's down to 25. I'm at like fucking 40 right now. And then I try to send. I get another tree down. I'm able to. I'm struggling trying to get in like my earth into the graveyard for like decompose, so I'm having to use all the decompose cards for pitching, which is really good for yellow rootbound. So I'm struggling trying to get decompose attacks off, as well as like tree can help out a little bit, so I'm finding some trees to help poke out, and then he's blocking a little bit. And then when he tries to set up again, I happen to have another Scour, but it was just only 8 rune chants, because I didn't get all of them because my hand was a little bit clunky, so I just sent it in for 6. He takes 2 and then leaves 2 up, so I'm able to get those 2 Scours. Were really crippling. The Warmongers wasn't really helping out because I didn't see them, but he was getting closer and closer, but he was like at like 7, and then he was able to get a big board with 1 turn, which is really cool, because he was able to send Ninth Blade for 9 and 9. So I didn't want to do anything because of the fact that there's the possibility to take all this damage and like go to 4, because I was like 23 or something like that. taking 18 damage because of the Reaping Blade was also a really big hindrance because he couldn't find anything to attack me and I take damage, and I had to literally send Fruits of the Forest or like Heartbeat of Cannibal just to get Earth into my graveyard because it was that clunky of him not attacking me that my deck was not functioning. So I'd block a little bit. I was able to get some cards in there now, and I can send him a Felling, so I go down to like 12. I send a Felling, and then we were able to like, he was like 5, and then I plume for like Pulse Noted when he tapped out, so I was able to like get exacts right there. So whenever he tapped out, he had to go for it. He said he couldn't wait. So I was like, yeah, I've got Surgeon on my turn, or I've got Pulse on my turn with a tree, so I can just win that one. So that was basically one of the lowest rolls I've ever seen from Vis. It was really bad. So round 4 was Florian on Reaping Blade. He was an experienced player, and just in general, he seemed like he was new, to the point where he actually said that he's not experienced with Reaping Blade as well. So what he does, he gains 2 life by discarding Fruits of the Forest. We're both at 40. He goes on his first turn. Then he goes into playing Thistle Bloom and Seeds. So he gets the he gains 1 rune chance or whatever, you can't gain life. And then so he can't gain the life, but he can just gain the 2 that he rune chance. So he fizzles somewhat on that card and then makes some rune chance and things like that. But he did it again where he had to play the Thistle Bloom for like nothing, like both modes. He wanted to play both modes. He couldn't get anything out of them because of the Reaping Blade. So he wasn't managing Reaping Blade life totals a lot, I can tell. So I was like, as well as I can keep my life low enough to where I can gain value out of my life gain, but he's still a little bit higher than me, which is good. I can keep that life total. So we were just walking him down just like this, and this classic Florian pretty much. And we were able to send for like a double rampant, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't have all the details because it was like nothing too demanding to remember. It was very tempo based. So we were able to get there a lot. He was sending, he couldn't get online fast enough. Like it was towards the late game where he got to 8, 2, 2, and 2, and 2. I didn't get Seeds I didn't get Ring of Roses, but I was just outvaluing, I think, on those turns. So for round 5, we have another Viscerai. We win this one for Vis again. This one was actually pretty good for my Scours. My Scours were making really, really, really good value for both of these Vis games. They weren't as like big payouts, but for Scour on this one, we go into, it's like the first one's for 4. We get 2 Malefics and 2 Rune Chants. And then he pitches. This one's AB3, but it's Grasp plus Carapace, Dietic Carapace, and then the headpiece, which I think is actually the right call because no, not headpiece. Hang on. It was Quill Hand because he did use the Face Purgatory. I remember that. So it was Carapace and Quill Hand for Face Purgatory. And then the Creepers. And I remember blowing that up. He sends in 8 Rune Chants on a kind of low impact turn. So he puts in like Creepers to read the runes. He had like 2 or 3 of those in his deck, and he just uses it. He doesn't use it for like a go wide turn. So I'm like, okay, you use this very, very, very early, like turn 2 or 3. So whenever he uses the Creepers, I was like, okay, cool. You know what? You got a lot of Rune Chants here. Let me see if I can't, just pass and kind of like see if I can't just weather the storm. So I send something to disrupt him a little bit. He goes to just basically send 1 attack that didn't have go again. I think it was like a blue drawn or something like that. So I block all the Rune Chants. I take the 1, he passes, and then I make sure to let him know, okay, the Creepers are dead. Cool, boom. Get those out of the way very early. And so I get a little bit of sigh of relief of not actually needing that to be like worried in the middle of the game. The end of the game was when I send something, I send a Mind Warp or a Felling or something like that. And he blocked, I sent a Felling. It's a picture of the card and it was an Arsenal. I send it for 8. He blocks exactly 8, and he's at 10, and I'm at 1 because like I had such a good life total, and then I'm slowly getting down. I'm taking down the. I want to go under Reaping Blade. Hey, Card King. I saw you earlier just a second ago, but I was kind of like in the story. So he's like, he blocks with Face Purgatory, draws a card, but I don't have to discard a card. So he goes up to 2 cards in his hand. He has Deadwood Dirge or something like that to create the 3 rune chance. So he has 3 rune chance. And then he's like, you know what? I don't think you can kill me at 10. So he checks the graveyard. He checks the banish. He's like, I don't think you can kill me at 10. I have Tunic up at 3 counters. I have 4 cards in my hand. I draw the absolute fucking nuts on this turn. I have a blue. I have a Pulsing Ether Life. I have a Sigil of Life and Sigil of Solace and a Rampant Growth Life. I can send 10 exactly nodes because of my Tunic. So he taps out completely. I quickly do the math. I was like, okay, you know what? Yes, I can still kill you exactly. Even if it wasn't exact, because I may not be able to nodes, I can gain up to 7 life because of the fact, or at least 6 life. And then I can take the rune chance, and then I can use my Tunic to block the Reaping Blade and just go down to 1. But then I've already used my Striders, and then it'll be a little bit difficult from there on out. I don't know. But I was able to get exactly 10. It was like just right there to where I can get it was so awesome to be able to have him say that. I don't think you could kill me at 10. And then I do kill at 10. No, man, when I saw my hand, I was like, oh my God, the perfect hand. So that was my round 5. We got round 6. I'm at table 3. So it's a bit iffy. Me and my opponent both have round 1 losses. So we're both like questioning if we can even get like top 8. We weren't sure. We don't know how the breakers go. So this one was Syndra. This one was actually a little bit difficult. And there was one turn that determined that I could have a chance to come back. I'm trading a lot. I'm not really decomposing. I'm learning that in Syndra, I'm not decomposing, if any at all, really. Like, I'm not really seeing that a lot lately in my Syndra games. I'm not getting online for my chest value, so it's just going to be a chest value for blocking, which I did just to cover some breakpoints if I needed to cover breakpoints. So what I was able to do is one turn, my opponent's at like 28. I'm at, I want to say, 3, and this was 9, so I'm like at 13 or 14. I have the nuts hand. I've only got 2 rampants, which this probably would be hard to come back to because he's on 81. He's on AB1, so that is a determining factor if I could kill from here on out. But I have the nuts hand. I can 24 him on my turn. What that typically means is Sigil, ramp, blue plus Mind Warp. So there is disruption in there. Not necessarily the value of this hand is 24. It's even more because of the disruption. But because I can do that much damage towards Surgeon, which is 11, and then 13. So 24 on my turn if I can survive this turn. So he sends a 3 attack. I take that. He sends another 3 that isn't just a generic 3. What this 3 does is twin sisters or something like twin twisters. What this will do is if it hits, if it's the second one, which it is, he can have the dagger hit me and destroy it. So I say no blocks. He lets it, he's like, he thinks for a second. He's like, oh yes, you know what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to let this hit. So he lets it hit. And the dagger goes to the grave. So from there, he goes to get another 3. So I'm like, okay, I'm at 7. If I take this and he draws, it needs not to be a 4, right? It needs not to be a 4. So I let it hit. I go down to 4. He's at 28 still. So He draws, it's a rabble. And I'm like, please be a yellow, please be a blue. One of those rare blues. It turns out it's just a red. So I was like, fuck, okay, it's a 4. I'm at 4. I gotta block something here. I gotta block on my chest. So the point is here where I have 2 decisions I can make. I can block chest. I can block with a blue. That covers up 4. You can probably just get the Syndra to come back, get the dagger. Not need to flick it because it doesn't need to, because then he would just have no dagger, right? And then I can send Mind Warp for 12, which is basically half. And then I can heal up 5 and then go back up to 9. So 9, and he drops down to 16. So that's something I didn't see until afterwards as a possible choice. What I basically did was force him to do lethal. I was trying to make it to be a little bit of a greedy play. And I was hoping that he would miss this interaction, which is kind of a simple interaction, but we're kind of like towards the end of the day, right? So I just block with chest. I'm just wanting to take it to 1, basically, because it's at 4. I want to block. I want to take it to 1. But basically, and then I do that. I don't block. I want to keep my hand. I want to be greedy. And then he goes, okay, cool. I'll activate Syndra, and then I'll flick the daggers because he actually hasn't flicked it towards flick knives. So he forces me to use a sigil. So I use a sigil. I go back to, I pretty much end that turn with 3 life instead of 4 life. But he loses his dagger, right? So that's kind of like kind of the difference between the 2 turns is if I'm higher life now on the previous, where I block with the blue and the chest, and he probably just gets the dagger and then passes. I'll be up to 9, but now this particular way is that I'm up to 5 with just double rampant growth life, and I still send the same amount of damage, but he lost his dagger. So I don't know which one's the best one. I think the first one is block with the blue and the chest piece. He just gets the dagger and I pass, and then I send the same amount of damage. It's still the same. He would take 12 and then go down to 16 and be at 9. But now he's at 16. He gets mind warped. He goes to, I'm at 5. We actually get a little bit of a breathing room because it messed up his hand really bad. He pitches like a D-React, the Majestic D-React. I can't remember what his name off the top because you don't particularly see it. So it's Majestic D-React, pitches it for the Fealty Creation 1 for 4. So it's just a 1 for 4, but he has snappies. He doesn't have the Dragon Draconic Boots that has Battle Worn. He doesn't have those, so I was thinking, okay, hang on. I can probably just block out here a little bit and send some disruption, which I have a CNC in my hand. So basically, what I do was I block 3. It was like it was Ring of Roses, and so I block that. He says, okay, cool, no reactions. So I have a mental block in my hand. I was like, I'm gonna be sending the CNC anyways because I have a yellow plus a CNC, which I think is a root bound. So I can just probably get a ponder off of this, debating my options, which is probably could be a possibility. So I think about it for a second. So okay, I'll pull the trigger on this. I'll block it and I'll get the ponder. I'll block it out. I really don't want to take any more damage. I'm at 5. He kind of takes an off turn here. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll get that. He ends his turn by arsenling, which is good because I can send the CNC. So it's in the CNC. He blocks mask, chest piece, and like 1 other card. So he blocks 6 out. He wants to keep the arsenal, which is smart because you don't want to double block. You want to be able to keep as many cards as you can. So he does that. And then I pass, ponder pops. It's fucking Seeds of Tomorrow. I can't even arsenal Seeds of Tomorrow. I will lock my arsenal and it doesn't even fucking block. At that point, I think I'm at that point where I could have just arsenaled Seeds of Tomorrow and be fine. Like, Seeds of Tomorrow could just stay in my arsenal. I think I used one earlier. I can't remember. So I could be using my Seeds of Tomorrow for the other seeds, but I could probably also plume if I had used it. So I had to keep it in my hand. So I kept it in my hand, and at that point I just die. I couldn't count back. I could not come back. Even if I was able to greed the play on the big turn and just drop him down to 4, he still has AB1, so I can't just Plume for Pulsing Ether, and then Strider's that for death because he can just AB1. So I lose that round. It was a bit of a deciding factor, but it was just like there's just a lot of things that you need to happen to have right. I went first into that match, which is good. Like you getting the first and not the Syndra going first is key. But I end up 4-2. So his name was Sherman, I think his name was. And he got called in for top 3 or for the 3rd seed. I'm like, you know what? That's actually a pretty good idea. I think I'm going to be within the top 8 after hearing him go to 3rd seed. And it's like, yeah, they call my name. I'm going to 6th seed. Okay, cool. We're in the top 8. We made it. We weren't sure, but there's only like 5-1. There was only 1-5-1 and then 1-6-0. So from there on out, ooh, forgot my water was here. I am bone dry. So we will have the top 8 quarterfinals recorded. We will have Jonathan Folk, if he would be down for that, or Jesse, min-maxing. You can see him on the purple Discord. I'm gonna see if he'll do it, if John cannot because he's busy with the new baby. And Pontiff, his name is Frank, and he is our local illusionist player. And I really don't have too much experience in the Enigma matchup, which I should probably practice for a couple weeks here. But we don't get there. It's kind of like too much details going into it. So the recording's actually going to be it's going to be pretty cool. I'm going to have all the cards up turn by turn like I used to do back in the old days. I didn't have my shoulder cam. I don't know where it's at. I couldn't find it, so I just had to grab a stand, and that was the only game that I recorded because I didn't want to set up every single turn, and we were kind of limited on space. So when we're top 8, we kind of spread out a little bit. So for those who are coming in late, this was the deck that I had brought. So this is the inventory. This will change. I'm going to put in 3 Findall's Fighting Spirit. You can do Earth form. It doesn't particularly matter, but the extra value of life gain is better, mainly just as using as popper's sakes, or just attacking with it if you happen to randomly attack with it. I don't know where I'm going to put those. It might just be the grave keepings. I don't know. I was not able to actually use them. They're only for Seeds of Tomorrow. Sorry, I'm seeing it right there. They're only for CYB. CYB is the only reason that's in there, and probably daggers. You could get away with it, but for my daggers, I'm bringing in these, and these. So anytime I need to Syndra, Assassins, mostly Mario. I don't know about Slippy because I don't know if he's more dagger focused. So I'll have to like probably talk to Tog from We Make Best. See if I want to make it just Shelter the Storms. And then my normal 6, because I go to 54 here for my main deck. It's just Shelter and just Fruits of the Forest as my normal typical put in, and then these are just spec pieces here. For the energy potions are just new, as well as Kano, probably mirrors as well. I don't have Vambrace. I would have put it in the Enigma matchup if I did. Oh, to be fair, the Enigma matchup was no CYB for that one, so it's more a little bit difficult to go into if you don't have the right setup to help do all the preventions and stuff like that. So we're still keeping these. We're still keeping these. My Warp still playing really nicely. I don't know if I'll change my Warmongers for just the mental block. If that is a thing, and post Viscerai, if Viscerai does LL, which it seems like it could be, and he won't be legal for Charlotte, what I'll probably end up doing is just testing Charlotte. I will bring my Warmongers just in case, because I'm doing the Battle Harden as well as the ProQuest Plus. I'm gonna keep these. I'm gonna bring them with me. If I see a resurgence of a need for those, because you can use them against Azalea and Dio, because they are 3-block and they help you not have too many items being tossed out because you're wanting to fatigue her. You can put them in. So I'm going to keep those on hand. The mental block will just straight up replace them with 2 cards. Basically, put those in, keep them in, or maybe just Seeds of Tomorrow because it's a blue earth. So we're probably going to do those and have the main board. What I'll probably end up doing is replacing the 2 slots with the Findal's Fighting Spirit and maybe like 1 less Gravekeeping to go 3 poppers instead. Because technically Fruits is a popper. So in the Prism sideboard, when I need to have 6, I'll put in 6 more poppers, which would just be Fruits and Findals. That's probably my plan right now. I don't particularly see anything going to change that. So that'll be my post Viscerai. I could probably make the deck list now and just change it up a little bit. But these are some of the matchups I just quickly did for my my RTN yesterday, and I just kind of like got through those. See, like something like Ira, Shelter plus Fruits, because they're really good cards that can activate for a solid plan for healing, as well as being a yellow earth as well, and then Shelter is very modal for that. So these 2 cards are very multimodal when it comes to my sideboard. I missed on how you finished at your RTN. So my RTN was 2 RTNs, 3-1-1, going to top 8, losing the quarterfinals. My RTN yesterday, the first one was on the 9th. The RTN yesterday was 4-2. I go in 6 seeds in the top 8 and then die in the quarterfinals. We'll have the Enigma matchup, like I mentioned, recorded, and I'm going to edit that and have some commentary from other people. And so, like, overall, we are 7-3-1 when Swiss. So if we count the losses, it's 7-5-1. 7-1-5. So I think the deck's really good. It's really performing lately. For those who don't know, I'm in the league that means nothing. I always keep saying matters. The league that means nothing from Az. Currently, we just got done with 6 rounds of Swiss for his little content tournament, which is really fun. It's really cool. I liked it. I enjoy it. I want to come back for the next season. I kind of came in last second because he posted on Twitter that he needed a spot to be filled. I was like, you know what? I got a pretty cool webcam that I'm actually using right now. I will get a tripod that actually has like a 90-degree and it can just like look down right there. So I was like, you know what? Let me in. And currently I am undefeated, the only undefeated player in the tournament at 6-0 currently. There's only one concession, and that was Control Dash, which is very favored into us. We basically just pitch stack everything, place their healing potions, and block out their stuff while we just prevent a larger combo. So I'm glad you're always in the conversation. I'm glad you're always in the conversation at your RTN. Consistently top 8ing means you can definitely push forward this weekend. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. I'm definitely going to need some tuning on my Enigma matchup. It'll probably be my new matchup as well. Syndra is fine for now. It's at this point, I'm feeling it's a little bit 50-50. Because it is literally 50-50. If you win your turn on the draw, so if you win the who goes first, so whoever goes first, if you win the die roll, you're gonna be looking a little bit better, because you can gain an arsenal, you can heal up a little bit with Fruits of the Forest, things like that. If you find your blue ones, because I don't have the yellows in for that matchup, and you can get an arsenal for Seeds of Tomorrow, so that's typically better. You're in a better position, and they don't have an arsenal. So leaking damage turn 1 typically sucks from Syndra. So if you go second, you have a little bit more of an edge. But if you go second, you have a little bit less of an edge, in my personal opinion. Sorry. So for this weekend, Aurora could also be making a showing as well. So I can probably practice a little bit on that. We had, we got up against, how do you block versus her, Syndra? I've been blocking the first attack on the chain, but I feel like that's wrong. So if they've got 4 cards in their hand and no arsenal, you typically want to double block. You want to double block. If it depends on the attacks, because they could just be sending a 0 for 4 at the end, which really fucking sucks. Like a snatch or a ravenous rabble in the middle, which really fucking blows. Like if there's any 4s on the ones that you want to block, it turns into a pain. The first one that you want to block is typically the 3rd. If you block on a disruption turn where they only have 3 cards in their hand, you want to block on the 3rd, because they probably won't flick their daggers. They will keep it anyways. So sorry, just joined. Is your list the nourishing waning? No, it is not, Louise. Rayland, it is not. It is the Jonathan Folk version of the Verdance. So we don't have nourishing, we don't have rainbow rebound, we don't run those, we don't run waning. So there is a possibility to put waning moon in there, but I just don't see the spots. I'm seeing more of post Viscerai, being that Warmongers comes out, Seeds of Tomorrow is main board, and then I put some Findal's Fighting Spirit in there somewhere. There is potential for me to put Waning Moon in there for Prism as well. I have not tested it versus Syndra, but so far, if they do not bring any AB, because you have Surgeon, you can proc Mind Warp a lot more. So you can just send Surgeon. You can block 3 cards out of your hand, keep a blue, put the Mind Warp in Arsenal, and then just still send the Disruption. So if they don't have any Spell Void, any Arcane Barrier, you can do it that way. But I think the correct way versus this, in terms of Verdance in general, is that they should be bringing the Lantern. Lantern sucks, but like, when are you ever going to use Double Dagger? And it prevents that. But I had it this weekend where I blocked 3 cards, send the blue when they did have AB1, and where I'm still picking out 1 card from their hand no matter what. They choose the card that they're going to pitch to AB, and I can just keep the Mind Warp in my arsenal. But the Mind Warp can just sometimes give them a better hand or nuke their hand. So it's a little bit different. So I haven't tried the Nourishing list. I think it is a little bit different. Prism feels super impossible to beat. Was running 3 Findels, 3 Red Summers, 3 CNC, and 1 red Evergreen, and still didn't feel like it's enough. Let me ask you this, Brody. Just drew the game out a bit and not enough to hit combo. Let me ask you this. Did they try to Herald aggro you to death? Or did they have a plethora of auras, being Haze Bending, Pierce Reality, Merciful Retribution, Genesis, all of those? Like, do they have those in that game that you're talking about, or is it like just in general? Because with all those poppers, if it's just Herald aggro, it's not gonna be enough for them. I just saw that Yuki posted today that she won on the Nourishing list. Yeah, like, I haven't personally tested the list. I'm not saying that it's a bad list. I just don't like that personal style of Nourishing and doing that. I haven't tried it yet. Not to say that it doesn't work, but the right mindset with the right deck also helps out that you can succeed with that deck. So if it works for you, then it works for you. So No, I like Jonathan's list a lot. Yeah, so it just comes down to personal taste. Whether or not, like, it's still base of you trying to do a pitch stacking where it's when you need to pitch stack, like Jarl. Rampant growths and sigils. I don't even know if like his list even does anything. Let me bring this up real quick. I liked her post, so I can probably bring up his list as I want to double check. Let me see. I'll have to probably bring it up through the tournament decks, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Oh, no, this is a Majin base. Rip. Let's try Verdance, see if there's a Verdance list. Yeah, there we go. There's Arthur Trehayes. Okay. So he has Constellas because of the Mighty Moon. He doesn't even have Surgent, so listen to me. Right now, I'm going to tell you, you're going to need to bring in Surgent. If you have Arthur Trehayes' list, you need to make room for Surgent. I cannot stress this enough. One of the main reasons he lost that Jarl match was because of Surgent not being in there, because it literally doubles your damage. That being said, he didn't pitch stack the best, as well as leaving in the combo pieces in Arsenal when CNCs were still in the Jarl's deck. It wasn't really a counter stack. It's just like he was stacking his other pieces until he needed it to be. And then whenever Arthur's stacking his pieces, the turns that Jarl was stacking his pieces was like a whole bunch of reds, I think. So it wasn't, it was like random reds all together that were clumped up. So it wasn't the ones that he was sending. There was like, he wouldn't be able to do the disruption that he did. So he has 9 of these shelters. He doesn't even run Seeds of Tomorrow, which is super weird. So instead of Calming Breeze, you could run Seeds of Tomorrow. So he has Summerfall in the arsenal. Sorry, sideboard. He has sideboard tech there, sideboard tech here, sideboard tech here. I don't know what this is for. And then 3 mental block main board, which is understandable. You can run those main board, it's fine. But the way that this deck pretty much works is etchings and overflow helps pay for your moon. Oh, I remember now. The etchings are supposed to be for getting the Sigil of Earth back. That's what it was. I thought it was the Sigil of Find Out that he had in there for it. That's what these are for. So if you use them or block with them or whatever, you can just get them back and pay for moon that way. So I actually haven't tested it, but I'm hearing that it just depends on your style of play. I used to be more mid-range, where I had a whole bunch of attacks where it was E-Strike, Findall's Fighting Spirit, Earth Form, a couple of Cadaverous, Tillings, things like that, where the meta was a little bit less prevention for the staggers, because that is the sole reason why those came out and these came in, is because you need these quote-unquote on-hit meta for these prevention effects to come into. Like, these cards did not exist in Rosetta. The fact that we didn't want to run them because they were so bad that we just felt so bad putting them in our deck. Waning Moon was the main damaging factor. This works in that meta. I'm not so sure because I have not yet tested it in this meta. I still can't figure out the Syndra matchup, to be honest. It's such an uphill battle. Blocking to prevent damage, but can't get back to the plan of closing the game. No breathing room. So maybe the Waning Boon build races that Syndra. So yes, you could do it that way. Again, haven't tested that. So it had to probably, like, you are going to be using your tree. So you got to use your tree with etchings and overflow to gain your damage. So if you just have tree out, and you can probably keep it down, keep it around, you can send the overflow. They can't do anything. You send the moon, things like that. I don't know about Calming Breeze. You can do Calming Breeze because it's not like, it keeps you to be a little bit less clunky. You're not using 2 cards to do the prevention effect. So you can keep this in arsenal and then you can block, right? But it's still, you still need to block with 1 card to fully cover a 3 for 3. And if they flick, you Calming Breeze. So that's still 2 cards, but Seeds of Tomorrow is a little less, it's a little bit more bricky. So you can brick on it. I feel like for Syndra, it just kind of just tests your fundamentals and block timing. Syndra on a 5 card hand versus 4 card hand is major. Well, yes. Personally, I believe I think it's still the same if it's like 3 cards in an arsenal versus 4 cards in hand. But yes, 4 cards typically is better because you can just only block 2, just take 2. So like say head jab, take 6, block. They try to do a flick shenanigans for the hit for the mass trigger. You can just keep 2 cards and then your arsenal if you happen to have your arsenal. So typically that is better. Or you can potentially just use Seeds of Tomorrow on the middle chain and then take the damage on the other ones. So it just depends. It's really hard. There's a lot of moving parts. I'm gonna have to do a guide, not like a guide, sorry, some videos when I have time this week. So I'm gonna try to get some Syndras in. A brain dead fucking monkey, in my personal opinion, can pilot Syndra and do well. I don't get it. It's just head jab. The sequencing is slightly complex at times because you don't know when you should flick, when you don't need to flick, when you need to let the daggers hit because you have on hit dagger, flick a dagger type of effects like Twin Sisters or whatever it's called. So that's pretty much my thought process. Syndra is like a 50-50 in my personal opinion. If you really want it, boils down to it's 50-50. But Channel a Millennium Tree really helps out. He doesn't have Mind Warp in this list, as I want to point out. This is not having any conjunction with Mind Warp. So I don't necessarily know how you are disrupting your opponent, because if you just send Nourishing Emptiness, an extra card to block with doesn't matter when they're sending 0 for 4s on the breakpoint. That really matters, because if you blocked and then they send a 0 for 4, then you're fucked. Like, the preventions needs to happen. Calming Breeze, Shelter from the Storm do help out, but like this, like these are just 2 blocks. How are you decomposing if you don't have that and it's a 1 block? You just feel so bad. You feel so bad for this blue rootbound right here. I keep changing back and forth between the scenes. LSS, give us an Verdance Armory deck. We need more Earth cards. So here's what I'm thinking. If Verdance does get an Armory deck, because, you know, it's 1 Lightning, 1 Earth, because, you know, Aurora did it. So now maybe we can get the opposite. We have one of those Ring Blades that they chose from Rosetta, give us to Verdance deck. Who knows? The reason why they did the Armory deck is because there's a First Strike deck with Aurora. So they have the Blitz kind of version that you can take the First Strike deck, you can take it to your Armory and play with it and like test. Oh, cool. It's an easy deck. It seems kind of simple. Okay, cool. We'll give you guys an Armory deck, pop those in, and you can take that to actually play some CC. So, even though people don't actually say that, you know, Verdance is not a wizard, at this point, I'm actually starting to disagree now. I used to be in the same thing where, hey, she's not a wizard. They gave us all 4 Rune Blades, quote unquote. It's not always going to be consistent, just arcane damage. You're going to have moments where you can 24 your opponent with Verdance. You can send 12, 14, 16 on their end of their turn. That's still wizardy to me. For God's sakes, fucking Emperor is a wizard and he acts little less than a fucking wizard. Don't even get me started on the Emperor. He's such a disappointment to me. And the fact that you're tying his hero fucking ability to a card that is 100 fucking bucks. Small tangent. I am okay. Aurora, I thought, was the brain dead deck. Yes, in a sense. There are some things that is a little bit more nuanced in that deck than, say, something like Syndra. The turn order of when you should do CLV over other things is one of those like determining factors, like, oh, when should I play CLV? Are they going to be able to block? When do I need to pitch stack versus harder decks like Jarl for the flittering combo? Because you do need to learn how to do that. Syndra just toss its shit out. So there's a little bit more moving parts in Aurora, so I will give her that. Let me show you something here. I will bring up, I literally just lost my train of thought. I can't even remember. But my young Verdance just came in a couple days ago, so we got her, which is pretty cool. Young Verdance is going to be my offline hero, and then the adult Verdance is going to be coming in, and we're going to put her right here. So we're just going to flip it whenever we're online. I kind of got the idea from Majin, but instead of Marvel adult, I'm kind of blinging both sides to where she's growing up, quote unquote, and her hero abilities online. And then we're getting some EA upgrades for this deck. But I did play against aggro. Oh, that's what it was. So when you go up against Aurora, because Exude Confidence does work, block with this and potentially block with this, depending on what they do, right? Exude, when Exude comes in first, it's only because of the fact that they have go again off of a embodiment, right? Embodiment of lightning. Shut down Exude with this, and shut down Exude with this. So for, like, say for instance, Aurora, I'm going to be bringing in Shelter, I'm going to be bringing in Fruits. None of these other cards really help out with her. This is a liability. This doesn't block. This doesn't really do anything for you because the Ponder may or may not brick on you. This is never going to be one of those things that actually helps you out. You're not going to get a CLV to match with your Summer's Fall, so keep your Scours in for your CLVs, for against Aurora, because I played aggro, and in that game, one of the first mini combos in that game on his stream was I kept a full hand to do Sigil, Rampant Growth into Sergeant, which then he took it for 4, and then I did Scour for 1, which is for 5 damage, and then I targeted CLV, and then I was able to equalize that way. So you can just kill the CLV with Scour and not even fucking worry. Yeah, so Verdance is going to be looking really nice. I might even get a new one of these snaps. Let's see, do I have another snap that I can do that is not so scratched? Because I kind of want to get a new one. They're like $4. I got a Zen. Oh, I could do this one. Maybe this one's good. This is, I pulled this on pre-release for MST. Still got fucking Lexi and Icelander Cold Foils. Oh, I could do the Lexi one. This is not too bad. But pretty much that's it for my RTN as well as the deck. Keep a lookout for my Ira game coming in for the link that means nothing. So we're gonna come up. That's gonna be my new version of the deck coming in for the hunted release, quote unquote. We can change our decks in that tournament, so I'm using the hunted version of that list. And all the other games, which is the 2 that you see on my channel, which is Jarl and Prism, because they're not on his channel, on Az's channel. Along with Jarl round 1, Phi round 2, Prism round 3, and Victor round 4. All of those are Rosetta version of the deck list, which is a mid-range version. But that's pretty much it. I am parched as a motherfucker, so I'm probably gonna be waking up a lot tonight because I keep drinking. I just came from a Penguins game. First time ever seeing hockey ever, as well as professional hockey. And we did it in style. We went into the VIP suites. We have free tickets, so we were able to go. Me and my wife. So I will keep it on the docket to do some Syndra games for you guys to kind of like see the points as well as learn the match up a little bit more. I'm not saying that I'm the most well versed. I can probably keep in line of some of the decisions that could be micromanaged, like I had at my RTN yesterday for round 6. I need 2 more rampant growth cold foil and 1 more cold. So I've got my second one coming in. So I got the first one coming in from France. I did pay for goods and services on that one. So goods and services to make sure that if it gets lost, I can get my money back. I'm getting adult Verdance and the cold foil rampant number 2 coming in. So I got that on the way. I did get my 3rd cold foil pulsing ether and I lost it somewhere in this fucking house. I don't know where it's at. I don't even know what the pulsing ether is at right now. Let's see. I may have to get another one, which is fine. 12 bucks? Yeah, fuck it. It's cheaper than when I got it before. I can just go ahead and buy this one now. Fuck it. Oh wait, no, one of the testing buddies told me that they have one, so I can buy it from him. So yeah, I don't know where my pulsing ether cold foil is. I really don't. I was trying to do the 6th round of the league that means nothing, and I was really distracted. But how do you guys feel Verdance is right now for the meta? What do you equate her success being? Is it pilot expertise is going up? What do you guys think? I just realized that my main board is 23 blues. I think I have to use a lot of yellows to pitch a lot, which is fine because most of my main attacks cost 2. I don't know. We'll see how it goes for. I just realized how many earth blues that we got in this deck. 9 fucking earth blues, and you actually want to use one of them, which is heartbeat. Oh, I'm so parched. I should probably get a peppermint. Do I have them in here? I think I do. One second, I'll be right back. There we go. I'm no longer parched, quote unquote. I think she's really good. I believe her matchups are improving as far as what's being seen. But yeah, pilot different. Her matchup spread is one of the things that I do want to get on the stream as well. Is a video that I want to get with John, Jesse, and maybe Julian Sniffin. We'll kind of like break down her matchup spreads. We're gonna do it on average pilot So we're gonna do that on average pilot reps. But since Rosetta came out, kind of sort of close to Worlds, I felt like Aurora was just the easiest pick with limited time and Verdance and Acilio. Verdance, Florian / Acilio, and Acilio need more time. Technically, yeah. Okay, so here's my thing. Why play Florian when you can play Verdance? And I'll tell you this. Not to say that the Florian is bad, okay? I think we had at least 2 Florians. I want to say there were more in my second RTN yesterday. So my RTN yesterday, I played one of them. I want to say there was another one towards the top, near top, but he was still in there and he was still in that range. So Florian has to have some type of identifying factor that Verdance has for you to want to play him. As well as Jarl has better Earth shenanigans like CYB, as well as Oak and Old, and the largest card pool access to him. And we'll have more whenever the Mastery Pack Guardian comes out. You test with 2 of my Maryland locals. Oh, nice. Yep. I'll have to ask them. Maryland. Yeah, yep. Julian, Jesse, yep. I'm gonna have to bring them in for the video and see what time they want to do it. It could just be me, Jesse, and Julian, because again, John is have some in real life baby shenanigans going on. He's being a good dad. Can't fault him for that. Which was actually one of the struggles for the interview, just finding the right time. Yeah, Jesse kind of fucked up on his RTN yesterday. But we've all been there. We've all accidentally, not all been there, but it's not uncommon to put the wrong card name on your on your list. Yeah, yeah, he did. He lost to Syndra in the top 8, but he got an IP2 penalty because he put Cadaverous Tilling on the list instead of Findell's Fighting Spirit. So when you go IP2 against Syndra, it's no bueno. So you draw up, so you would want to go first. You draw up 3 cards. I don't know what you're going to do with those 3 cards. You have to try to get lucky. Arsenal, draw up 3 cards again, and then you're good. At that point, you only have 2 turns of actually having an IP penalty. But what happens is that your hand is only meant for blocking, not for tempo. You would have to take a lot of damage from your Syndra opponent for 4 cards. So you'd only have to, the extra blocking card is so essential whenever you have 3 versus 4. It's crazy. But I don't know who won. I mean, I think I asked in the chat. Hang on one second. I don't see chat. Oh, Wyatt on Syndra. Okay. Cool. So good. Syndra got the RTN win yesterday. Syndra was beat over Prism. Prism won. Okay, so that's another reason why I want to bring in more poppers, because Prism can beat up a little bit on Syndra. Depends on the build. You have to ask me the build for that Prism. Like, do they run? I think it's Pat. What's his name? That one, from what I've heard. Pat Weiss. I think I've played against him before. He played Prism against me, and I played Kano, and yeah, I lost. But that's pretty much it for this stream. I just kind of wanted to get it. There is one more RTN that I could potentially go to, but it's on the 10th of March. What happened to E-Strike? Okay, so here's the reason E-Strike is out currently. A lot of the time, you are bottoming a card that you cannot pitch to fix your hand. That is the strength of E-Strike. But what that means is that your hand needs to function with vanilla damage. So if you're having 2 cards to send, I'd rather send 6 with disruption rather than 7 with vanilla damage. Now, there is the possibility that you can bring in E-Strike when you want to bring in Siege tomorrow, because you can say E-Strike, draw a card, put that card into your arsenal no matter what, and then have a card for Siege tomorrow. But I think that's a little bit what's the word? It's not that good of a play, I think. But E-Strike just doesn't really like. It's such a tight list now that we need it to do something. E-Strike would be the only card that would come back in over anything else in terms of cards that make a difference into the deck. Like, we are bringing in more poppers, but that's just for Prism, and that's only just for Prism. E-Strike has a little bit more wider range, but for E-Strike, it just comes down to whether or not if it fits into the meta or not, and I just don't like it in this meta because you can't be mid-range. Syndra doesn't care if you send 7 and you block 3 to do that. And not only can you send 7, sometimes your arsenal may not be E-Strike and the one card that you need to tuck is in your hand. You may have E-Strike in your hand and some other bullshit card in arsenal that you rather would send over E-Strike, because against, say, like Syndra, you need to block out a lot of the time to prevent the mass trigger. Try to get the 1 flick pings type of thing. I'll have to see what Jesse thinks, what he says on E-Strike. That's pretty much it. What do you guys think? I'm just chilling here a little bit, kind of go over and everything. There's not much more I can talk about. Probably play a little bit more 7 Days to Die. All right, Card Viking. Anybody else who could be listening in? Appreciate it. You can check the VOD for the breakdown of my RTN. Again, there is another one that's right after the what's it called? Battle Hardened Weekend. Battle Hardened Weekend is 7, 8, and 9. And then there's an RTN on the 10th for Mad Cards. So I don't know if I'm gonna go that far. I don't know if I'm gonna go for that one. I think it's like, where's that shit in? Where's that shit at? Youngtown, Ohio. It's not that far away from me. I've been in my assassin dungeon, but I think I need to give assassin a break. The only assassin that I would want to play is Mario, by far, because he seems like the coolest one. He's just so expensive. He is so expensive. I have all 3 codexes, which is one of the main points that you need to entry points for his deck to be so expensive is codex. But I'd have to ask probably just Todd or whoever would want to build his cards and some of the things like that. what his deck is. Let's see. Tournament decks. Let's do Arachne. Arachne Marionette. Let's. Well, this is Memphis from Brian Lorenz. Battleheart in third place. Brian Lorenz. This might change. This could very well change, but you guys aren't seeing this my screen, but I don't know. All right, I think that'll do it for the stream. I will try to put up the video this week as soon as possible for for the quarter 8 top final type of thing for my yesterday RTN, like I mentioned, and we'll try to get some advice for you guys because Enigma can be hard. It's just a certain equipment loadout can be harder over others, so we're going to discuss that as well. But thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I don't typically do a lot of streams for Verdance because videos seem a little bit better. But thanks for watching, guys.